Good morning, everybody. I am here today with Reverend Jim Wagner, who has been a member here at Church of the Master for about 5 years since he retired after a very long career serving in ministry with the United Methodist Church. Jim is a prolific author. He has written 7 books. This one is his newest. It's called Oh, to be 108 Again. The title is humorous, and he explains that in the introduction or in the first chapter of the book. But Jim has just finished this book. It has just come out, and Jim's going to be leading a study of this book with us. And so I wanted to have an opportunity to share a little bit of this with you by asking Jim around it. So Jim, welcome this morning. It's good to have you here. It's good to see you. I assume you're taking care of yourself out at Friendship Village, and everything is going okay with you out there.
Everything is going very well at Friendship Village, yes.
Well, good.
Yeah.
So this new book you wrote during the early stages of the pandemic.
Right.
What prompted the writing of this book?
Well, actually, I had the idea for about a year, but I didn't have enough time to focus on it until the pandemic shut things down at our retirement community. And so from middle of March until about July, I had lots of time to put this book together. And to say a little bit more behind my motivation, one of my new friends at Friendship Village named Ruth Deacon. Ruth is, I think, maybe 92, 93 now, active church member all her life. And she said to me one day, could we have a conversation? Something is bothering me. So I said, sure. So we got together, and she said, I've been in church all my life. I've never heard a sermon on soul. What is soul? S-O-U-L. And so we had a conversation about that. And then after that, I said, well, let me do a little research. And then I got back to her and showed her some of my notes. But that was really the genesis of this book.
Okay.
Questions that older adults are asking me about their spirituality. And that's how the book came to be.
Okay.
Yeah.
You use aging as a lens through which to look at various components of faith, like you said, soul and scripture and prayer, grace and forgiveness. But when I read the book, I found lessons here that I thought would apply equally to all ages. In fact, as I was reading it, I thought there are things in here about folks who are aging that I would like to have known when I was younger. I would like to have known that my parents or my grandparents or others in my church were having these kinds of questions, because when I was younger, it didn't even cross my mind. Who is your intended audience for this book?
Well, I think about it. I want to say something very interesting, kind of a side note here.
Okay.
When I was associate pastor here many, many years ago, the senior pastor was Dr. M.J. Miller, and he served here 20-some years and went on to be district superintendent, and then he and his wife retired to the Otterbein retirement community down at Lebanon. He lived to be 108. So I thought that was kind of interesting. I didn't know that when I wrote the book. I knew that Millard was 100 or something, and I had visited him on and off. But then I learned that he was 108. So I thought that was kind of interesting.
Yes.
Ties in with this church, yeah. But getting to your question, Pastor, the spirituality that I'm dealing with, based on these questions, are really basic questions for all Christians. You're right. And these kind of questions may not be possibly raised by teenagers, but I could see 40, 50, 60-year-old persons in the church asking those same questions. To me, there's a uniqueness about aging spirituality. And I address that a little bit in the book, if I could just point out something here. Even though these are common questions that we ask about life and what does it mean to follow Jesus and what are the meaning of the Bible, etc. I list here in the book what's called second half living values. That comes from an author, Richard Rohr. I've read several Richard Rohr's books. But he says that as we get older, and especially after we retire, we're in a different chapter, a different mindset. And I list these. Older adults, we're more interested in life's values. This is on page 141. We're practicing letting go rather than acquiring. We see life in perspective. We tend to appreciate each moment. We don't think we have to be in control all the time. We accept our physical limitations. In other words, older adults have really a different perspective on life than when they were 30, 40 years old. But the basic questions and what it means to be a Christian are the same. And it could be they asked these questions when they were much younger, but never thought through them or never discussed it with somebody, you know. Yeah.
So what is it that you are hoping readers will take from this book?
Well, I'm hoping that it will cause them to, I don't want to say articulate their theology, as our seminary professor said, now you have to articulate your theology. No, I think it could help the reader understand their own values and their relationship with God, and what does it mean to be a Christian, and I call it in the fourth quarter of life, in the last quarter wherever we are. One of the scriptures that I have let to be my guide in this is in First Thessalonians chapter 5. Encourage one another and build up each other. So I kind of see this as a way of encouraging other people and building and building them up. So
okay. Jim has brought copies of the book to the church today, and you can pick up copies of his new book for $10 here at the church. Jim, you're going to have you're going to conduct a book study of this. Can you share with us the details of the study? How do folks connect with you around this?
Well, we're looking at the possibility of inviting members and friends of Church of the Master to sign up for a study discussion with me by way of Zoom on the internet.
Okay.
And we're looking maybe early in February to start that. I don't call it a class or a course. I call it a discussion study of the book. And in the registration information, people can call our church office who are interested. We'd like to know whether you'd rather have a daytime or an evening time sessions, those sorts of things.
Okay.
But I'm looking at each week for about 60 minutes, and I don't know how many weeks we will go. There are 15 chapters in the book. Each chapter could be a book in itself. I mean, the topic in each chapter.
Yes,
but
it could.
It's possible that we could go maybe possibly 3 months to get to cover the book.
Okay.
But I'd say let's just live into it and see how it goes.
Right. So you will find details of the study in a flyer in the worship folder, and it will also be in the February newsletter. There's instructions in there about how to sign up for the study, and I understand you're also doing an in-person study for folks out at Friendship Village.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
So if you are one of our members or friends out at Friendship Village, you have the opportunity to do the study in person with Jim out there. But if that's not you and you would like to sign up, register to be a part of the study that Jim leads by Zoom, you'll find the instructions to contact the office and let them know what study you would like to be a part of, a daytime study or an evening study. And then once we know who is signed up, then Jim will get back with you about getting those studies scheduled. Jim, thanks for being with us this morning. I read the book entirely. I love it. I highly endorse this book. To be 108 again. Thanks for taking time to be with us this morning.
If I could just say one little comment.
Certainly.
At the end of the book, the end of the last chapter, I have a sentence that sort of summarizes the entire focus of the book, and it goes like this. With a heart that cares for others as we care for ourselves, with eyes that see beyond everyday happenings, and a spirit in tune with the Spirit of God, good things can and do happen in our later years. And I really believe that, and that's what the book is about.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Jim.